Good morning and Shavua Tov. There is a Jewish doctor in California. His name is Dr. Nichols. And last week he reported that a patient came into the COVID ward where he works. And unfortunately, he was having difficulty breathing and his situation deteriorated. And they determined they had to intubate him. And when he went to the patient to remove his gown in order to intubate him, the patient looked up at him and was pleading with him. And he said, "Doctor, don't let me die." He had a look of fear and dread on his face as they were preparing to put him into an induced coma. And when the doctor said to him, "Don't worry, we'll take care of you. We'll do everything we can to keep you alive and to make sure you get out of this." And then they opened up his gown to intubate him. And there, this Jewish doctor sees on his chest, there is a large tattoo of a swastika with many other SS tattoos on his body. And the doctor said that at that moment, he suddenly hesitated when the patient looked at him and pleaded, "Please don't let me die." The doctor said he thought to himself, well, what would you do if the roles were reversed? And then he realized that COVID was taking its toll on him, that he went into this profession of being a healer to treat every person irregardless of what they believe and to give everyone unconditional, top-notch care regardless of who they are. And he immediately decided that he would double down on his care for this patient to make sure that he does not succumb to any feelings of animosity or hatred or revenge towards this person. This week's Torah portion tells the story of Joseph and the brothers. And of course, it's an episode that lasts for 4 Torah portions and concludes the book of Genesis. It's about brothers being torn apart through jealousy and hatred. And the brothers throw Joseph into a pit and then sell him into slavery. But the Torah portions end at the end of Genesis with the reunification of the family, the healing of the fractured family, and the forgiveness that Joseph offers his brothers. COVID-19 has taught us something. It's human nature to want to be independent, to be self-reliant and self-sufficient. Nobody wants to be dependent on others. However, that is when it comes to material interdependence. But when it comes to emotional interdependence, we cannot run our lives like a one-man business. We cannot be self-sufficient. As the Torah says right in the beginning of Genesis, Lo tov hios adam lavado. It's not good for man to be alone. Therefore, God created a soulmate, a partner to share life's blessings with. As someone said that a sorrow shared is a sorrow halved, and a blessing shared is a blessing doubled. Indeed, the Talmud says that when a person gets married, they're forgiven for all their sins. And our rabbis say why, and our rabbis explain because when you get married, you recognize your vulnerability and the fact that God created us to be socially and emotionally interdependent on one another. And nobody could find fulfillment and happiness without relationships with other people. And when you open yourself up to that vulnerability, you learn how to love, you learn how to be kind and generous, and to interact with others in a beloved way. And that is why God grants us forgiveness as we begin the journey of marriage and love. And this is the lesson we all have to learn from this week's Torah portion from Joseph and the brothers and from our experience over the last 8 months during COVID. That yes, we realize that none of us can be complete or whole when we live alone. This man in the hospital bed was filled with rage and hatred towards Jews. But in his moment of vulnerability, he pleaded with the doctor with fear in his eyes, saying, "Please don't let me die." We don't have to wait till we realize how vulnerable we are to plead for help from one another. But even when things are good, we should recognize that we need each other. We cannot survive without each other. As Joseph says when he goes out into the field, Es achi anochi mivakesh, I am seeking my brothers, despite the rift that had occurred in the family. He was looking to heal, to reconcile, to make peace, recognizing that none of us are an island unto ourselves. Let COVID teach us this lesson, and especially as Jews, we are all interdependent. That is the beauty of the Jewish nation. This week, after Israel in 1985 had conducted Operation Moses, and then in 91, Operation Solomon, bringing tens of thousands of Ethiopian Jews to Israel, Israel began a third mission now, called Operation Sur Yisrael, Rock of Israel. And they're going to be bringing 2,000 more Ethiopian Jews to Israel. And the first wave of Ethiopian Olim arrived this week, 316 Ethiopian Jews getting off the plane, all ages, getting down on the floor, kissing the soil of Israel, fulfilling a life dream to come home to Eretz Yisrael. And as we watched our brothers and sisters come off the plane, no matter how scattered they were in Ethiopia, anywhere in the world, they knew that they have a family waiting for them in Israel. And as the Prime Minister welcomed them together with a delegation, unfortunately they have to go into isolation for 2 weeks because of the COVID restrictions. But Israel was saying, no matter what, even during COVID, we never forget that we have family and we will bring them home. And indeed, when they asked some of these mothers carrying young babies, what are the name of your children? One said, my daughter's name is Esther. One said, my son's name is Avraham, carrying Jewish names, biblical names. And one even said, my child's name is Yerushalayim, Jerusalem. And they asked, why did you name your child Jerusalem? And she said, because that's my greatest hope and my greatest wish, to come back to our ancestral land, to Eretz Yisrael, and to our capital, Yerushalayim. This is the longing and the prayers of the Jewish people, to always be together with one another, to remember each other, to be there emotionally for each other. Unlike Yaakov, who was Vayivaser Yaakov Levado, he remained alone in last week's Torah portion, and hence he was attacked and had to struggle with the angel. This week's Torah portion teaches us that we have to say, we seek our brothers and sisters, because it's not good for man to be alone. If there's one valuable lesson we can take from this COVID experience is that yes, being independent is a blessing, but when it comes to emotional affairs, being independent is a curse. We have to be interdependent and appreciate the gift of our friendship and our love. Have a wonderful day and a Shavua Tov.